Okay, welcome back friends. I am Dr. Raza. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about different types of the cells of the central nervous system. So we have got basically, two types of the cells, and the most important, that in your nervous system you have got the neurons. So we have got neurons, different parts of the neurons also, and then we have got non-neuronal glial cells. So in the neurons, that we have got axon, we have got dendrite, which is receiving the information, then processing to the cell body, and axon is basically carrying your message, which is the highly myelinated part of your nervous system. So first you have to understand what is basically the myelin, because usually you have to deal lot of terms in your future, that this patient have degrees myelination, or you have to take this food or these drugs to in order to increase the myelination. So myelin is simply is wrapping of this electrical insulation along with your basically neuron. So gaps between these two neurons, that is called as synapse. So you have to understand what is synapse, what is myelin, what is good for the myelination of the nervous system, what will be common demyelinated central nervous system, and then peripheral nervous system disorders, and then what are common types of non-neuronal central nervous system and then peripheral nervous system cells. So we have got astrocytes. So we have to discuss first non-neuronal glial cells of this central nervous system. So number one, we have got astrocytes. Astrocytes. So astrocytes are basically most abundant cells of the central nervous system. Most abundant cells of the central nervous system. Most abundant cells. Most abundant cells of CNS. And these astrocytes are basically they do give a physical support to your central nervous system, to the brain and spinal cord, and then also they remove extra neurotransmitters in your central nervous system. They also help in formation of this blood brain barrier. So these cells are most abundant and very important cells of your glial cells of your central nervous system. And then after astrocytes you have got these oligodendrocytes. I hope you have heard about oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes are very important cells. Why very important? Because they do help in myelination of axons. So their function is myelination of axons of central nervous system. Axons of central nervous system. So if there is destruction of these cells, they do give fried egg appearance on the histology. So fried egg appearance on the histology, this is basically appearance of the oligodendrocytes. And then what is the important function of the oligodendrocytes? That oligodendrocytes, they help in the myelination of the axon in the central nervous system. If there is destruction of these cells, in which disease? That is multiple sclerosis, MS. So oligodendrocytes are destroyed in MS. Later we will discuss about the multiple sclerosis. So oligodendrocytes are destroyed in basically multiple sclerosis. This is demyelination disorder associated with the central nervous system. And then after the oligodendrocytes, what are the other cells after the oligodendrocytes? After the oligodendrocytes we have got, okay, then number 3, we have got these very important cells. These are called as microglia. And after microglia we will discuss about ependymal cells. What are the microglia? Microglia, as it's mentioned by name, that microglia are basically like phagocytic cells of the central nervous system. Phagocytic cells of central nervous system. Central nervous system. So they are basically immune cells or the phagocytic cells of the central nervous system. And then last but not least, we have got these ependymal cells. Ependymal cells, also very important cells. These are very important cells, especially when you are talking about CSF, that cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid, which is present in your ventricle system and then central canal and subarachnoid space, this CSF is basically produced by specialized type of ependymal cells which are called as choroid plexus. Choroid plexus. So do understand this please, that choroid plexus, this is a network of rich capillaries, and these are basically present in your lateral ventricles, fourth ventricle, which help in production of CSF, and these are basically subtype of ependymal cells. Ependymal cells also have this columnar epithelium. Columnar epithelium. Why columnar epithelium? Because these ependymal cells are lining central canal of the spinal cord and these ventricles for the transportation, for the movement of the CSF. So who is helping in production? Choroid plexus. And then these cells are also having subtypes like microvilli. Microvilli, or these are also called as arachnoid granulations. Arachnoid granulations. And these microvilli are arachnoid granulations, which are subtypes of ependymal cells. They help in absorption of CSF. So it's mean whether this is production or the transportation or the absorption of CSF, who is the responsible? Ependymal cells. Ependymal cells. Remember please this. Then next, what are the other types of cells? We have got these cells in the peripheral nervous system. We have got in the PNS, peripheral nervous system. What are the glial cells of the peripheral nervous system? We have got satellite cells. Number one, satellite cells, which are basically surrounding the cell bodies of the neurons and the ganglia of the neuron. And then we have got Schwann cells. You have heard about the Schwann cells. That Schwann cells basically help in myelination of the axons of the peripheral nervous system. So myelination of the axons of peripheral nervous system neurons, it's responsibility of the Schwann cells. So if there is destruction of these cells are commonly destroyed in one syndrome, that is GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome. GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome. So do remember please, peripheral nervous system demyelinated disorders, GBS, central nervous system demyelinated disorder common, that is MS, multiple sclerosis. You must have to watch this lecture. Do read from your textbooks also, because purpose of creating these videos is to give you a gateway to your self-directive learning, to your textbooks. So I hope you understood. Thank you for your consideration.